Hey everyone, Jeff here from Films at Home, and if you haven't been listening to my podcast, you may not know this, but I'm actually about to move into a new house, and I'm going to talk to you guys about the process of moving over 3,000 movies and a room full of stuff into a new home. Thanks for coming back to the channel today, everyone. I wanted to make this video because I know that I'm not the only person out there who has a big movie collection and needs to move it. Whether you're moving into a new apartment because your lease is ending, you're moving out of your parents' house and trying to take things with you, or you're just moving from one house to another for jobs, moving to a different location, whatever it may be, I guarantee most of you watching this channel don't want to leave your collection behind, but it can feel pretty daunting when you have even 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000 movies like I have. Even a few hundred can feel pretty daunting to move, plus all of your home theater stuff is trouble as well. So I'm going to walk you guys through a little bit and show you behind the scenes of how I've packed things up, give you some tips and tricks on moving your collection and some things that you should be aware of, and ultimately just give you a little bit behind the scenes here on the first stages of my move. We don't move for another 4 weeks after this video comes out. By mid-September of 2022, we'll be in the new house, but I got a head start and I'll show you guys what I've been doing. So as you guys can probably imagine, moving a collection of this size is fairly stressful, and moving in general can be a very stressful life event. So if you're struggling with stressful life events like this, maybe you're depressed, a little anxious, or just feeling overwhelmed, today's video sponsor, BetterHelp, is here to help you. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you with these stressful times. Now, you guys may not know this about me. I've briefly touched on it before, but I actually do struggle with a little bit of anxiety myself. And you know, I went to therapy and I did talk to a therapist, and it really did help. So BetterHelp offers a broad range of 20,000 plus therapists in their network who are trained to deal with all sorts of different issues and give you access to experts that you may not have access to in your area. Getting started on BetterHelp is really easy. You go on their website, you fill out a questionnaire to get to know you and get to know your specific needs, and then BetterHelp will match you up with a therapist in just 48 hours. Once you're matched up, you can easily schedule video sessions or phone sessions online with your therapist, and you also get unlimited messaging, just like texting a friend, with your therapist included with your plan. BetterHelp, of course, offers 100% patient confidentiality, and if you're having any issues, you can change your therapist at any time for no charge at all. So if you're struggling with anxiety, depression, just feeling overwhelmed or stressed, join the 3 million plus people who have taken control of their mental health with a licensed BetterHelp therapist, and get started today. To get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp, simply go to betterhelp.com/filmsathome. That's betterhelp.com/filmsathome, and it brings you right to the questionnaire where you'll get your 10% off your first month. So I really appreciate their sponsorship today. And now let's get back to the video. So at this point in time, while I'm making this video, literally the only movies that I have left on shelves are what you see behind me here in the video. I have about 4 miniature shelves left. I have taken all of the movies off of both of my spinning media towers. That's roughly 1,700 movies between those two. I took everything out of my media cabinet, which is about another 700 or 800, and I've taken everything off other shelves in other areas, which is how you get to about 3,000 movies. Now, luckily, you'll see I was able to consolidate them down, and it looks very daunting at first, but when you start putting them into containers and start storing them away, they don't maybe take up as much space as you'd think. So I'm going to show you guys that process, give you a little time lapse so you can see what I was doing. I'll talk over some of those videos, and then I'll come back to show you guys what I've been doing with the movies since I packed them all, and what my plans are to make sure that these stay safe and secure on the move, along with all of my home theater equipment, TV and speakers, and what I've planned with a moving company and a storage company so that I make sure this all gets there in one piece and in good shape. So here's the time lapse. I started with my big media cabinet and worked backwards. So this is where the ZYX section is. And, you know, I was basically just kind of throwing them in there, spine by spine. Was taking a look at a few of these and sort of doing a basic inventory as I went. But that was a quick one. Filled up a whole bucket there. Then I went back for the rest of that shelf. Quickly filled up a second bucket. You guys would really be surprised at how fast this moves. And this is a time lapse, but this probably took me 30 minutes in total. So that filled up another bucket, and then I locked that up and I was over to the media tower. I had already completed the first media tower, so this is the second one. And again, I'm just going in alphabetical order, making sure that all the movies stay together. It's easier to unpack. And I quickly blew through this media tower, filled up a couple of the 110 quart containers, and then got the last section here. And then also had to grab some stuff out of my closet and from a few other sections. So you'll see me going back and forth here. But really, it wasn't a terrible process, and it was actually kind of fun to do. So that gives you a little idea of the work that this took. You get to do a little bit of an inventory and really, take note of what you got. And while I was going through movies, I was like, oh, that's a duplicate. That's a duplicate. I bought a 4K of this. It really helped me pare down my collection even further by literally going disc by disc and taking them off the shelf. And it'll be an interesting, exercise when I get into the new house, and I'll show you guys that process of taking these out and sorting them again. Now, some other tips and tricks as it relates to the movies. I did pack these up early, but I'm not going to put them into any type of storage until the very last minute. Now, the plan for our house is we're getting one of those storage pods that'll sit in our yard that we can fill up and gets moved to the new house at our own convenience. And then we're also hiring movers for some of the bigger items, furniture and things like that. Now, the movies I will not put in the pod until the very last minute because I don't want them being exposed to the environment. Movies and optical media like this, whether it's a vinyl collection, book collection, CD collection, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, no matter what it is, you want to make sure that you're not exposing it to extreme temperatures one way or another. All of these collections, media collections, are best stored in climate-controlled environments. So I'm keeping these in the boxes, and although my room is a little messy right now because I have boxes and containers of movies everywhere, it's better than sticking them in the storage container and letting them sit there for 4 weeks in the middle of the New England summer. This would be true for winter as well. You just don't want these things exposed to the elements any longer than they need to be. I'm already a little bit worried about them being in the container for roughly 24, 48 hours as we move things to the new home, but I think I can get by on that. If it was in there for a month, you may have issues. The other thing to pay attention to when you're doing movie storage like this is the weight distribution. I've stacked these right now, as you could see in the video. I've stacked them too high. I wouldn't go any higher than that. I would not stack 3 or 4 containers on top of each other because I am worried about the weight crushing the ones on the bottom. I think with only 2 containers, it's going to be okay. The plastic containers will take the brunt of the weight, but it's another thing you really have to be careful with, especially depending on how you're stacking your movies. Primarily, I did them with the spine up so I could see the titles more easily and browse through them, but there are some that are face up or face down, and if you stack too much weight on top of those, you do run the risk of literally crushing cases, crushing discs, and it's just not something you want to deal with. Now, when it comes to moving like the TV, the speakers, your receivers, your players, this expensive electronic equipment, that's where I honestly can't recommend enough getting movers for that. Even if you just got movers to move that stuff in your house, and you could move the furniture from your house or your apartment, and you just hired somebody to make sure that that was taken care of, I'd recommend it because that stuff is expensive, it's not easy to replace, and you don't want it to get to your new house all broken. So what I'm doing is I am trusting this to a quality set of movers, but I have very specific instructions for them, which is also important. They're going to build a custom TV crate for my 75-inch TV. I don't have the original box. If you do have the original box for your TV, that's always the best method. And sometimes movers can sell you TV boxes, but I'm going to have them build a special crate to move this TV. It's going to cost a little bit extra, but it'll ensure it gets there in one piece. I'm going to have them wrap all of my speakers up and take those out completely wrapped and protected with moving blankets. I'm going to have them take all of the electronics equipment and wrap those as well and make sure that they're all in a safe, secure spot within the moving truck. Some of this I could put in the pod too. I may put some of the electronics equipment in a secure, Tupperware, Rubbermaid type container and store them that way so I know it gets there in one piece. But something like a TV, if you don't have the original box, it's really best to rely rely on the movers. Let them put a crate together, a protective crate, get a TV box from them. Don't just try to stick it in your car or try to stick it in the pod without any protection. You're asking for a disaster. Now, container-wise, you guys are probably curious what I got. Honestly, these are Sterilite containers. I just went to Target. They have a double lock on the side. They lock in. You can lift them up by the handles. Very sturdy. I previously moved my collection out of my condo and into the new house with these containers. I trust them. They're strong. They don't break, and they actually hold a decent amount. I have both 66 quart and 110 quart containers. I would recommend the 110 quart. You get a better bang for your buck. But if you wanted to, say, put something like your Criterion collection separate, that's why I have the 66 quart boxes. Those will where I put like Shout Factory and Criterion collection and things of that nature, Arrow Video, stuff that I want to make sure is, separate from just my thousands of movies. The stuff that's a little more expensive, a little more sentimental to me, I'll put in a separate box and make sure that that gets placed in a really specific location that's safe. So that's an idea. But for the rest of the stuff, if you do have a lot of movies, the 110 quart boxes are great. They're sturdy. They're better than cardboard boxes, which can fall apart, especially with the weight. You'd be surprised how much these movies weigh when you start packing them in. You're gonna want a secure box like this, and it's well worth the $10 or $15 to get these plastic containers. It might end up costing you $100 or $150, but again, what's that? 6, 7 new Blu-rays if you damage some? In the scheme of things, it's really not that much of an investment, and it's well worth it. Now, the last tip, the last thing I'd have for advice, if you do have shelving, if you have these big like tower units like me, or you have a big media cabinet, it's another place where I'd let the moving company take care of it. I moved all of my shelving units from my condo into this house 4 years ago, and I did more damage, honestly, than it was worth. If I had just hired somebody, it probably would have been better, because I had to end up replacing a few of them. They got beat up, they got cracked, they fell apart. You have to realize a lot of media storage isn't built the best. A lot of it's sort of just like fiber wood, like not really solid. We're not building this stuff out of like hickory and oak here. It's built out of fiberboard, and so it can break pretty easily, and if it gets dented, smashed, corners can fall off. You're better off having somebody, again, come wrap that stuff up, put it in a moving truck with some moving blankets, and make sure it's secure. So those are the tips and tricks. That's a little behind the scenes on my move. Hopefully this helps any of you guys with your moves. If you're moving a movie collection like this, I'd love to know in the comments if you guys have any more tips or tricks for me. Definitely would be helpful. I've got about a month left before we officially move into the new place, so I've still got time to sort of rearrange and adjust some of what I'm doing, but that gives you an idea of what's going on in my life. And also want to give a huge thank you to BetterHelp for the sponsorship of this video, which is huge, and I love their partnership with me, and it really does mean a lot to me personally, because I have dealt with some of these issues. I have gone to therapy, and BetterHelp is definitely a way that I could see this becoming more available for more people worldwide, which is important. Mental health should not be a stigma. It should be just as important as your physical health. You got to take care of your mind just like your body. And so if you guys are struggling, go check them out. Thank you for watching. Make sure you're following on social media and subscribe here on YouTube. Check out all the other links down in the description for our other partners, but especially BetterHelp, our sponsor for today. And that's it. So have a great rest of your day. Stay safe and healthy out there, and I'll talk to you guys soon.